you abuse a child, okay? Suppose, okay? Who's responsible for the abuse? Who? Are you responsible? You are not responsible for your abuse, right? But you're responsible for what? For getting better. Right? So you don't blame yourself, feel guilty for the abuse. So this sustainability, you be very clear. It doesn't mean that accept yourself as a victim. Oh, I was abused because I was bad. I was abused because I was naughty. You blame yourself, it's not going to help you. But assume responsibility to get better will help you. It's a fine difference, right? You do accept responsibility for the abuse, because nobody asked for abuse, right? But you have to assume responsibility for getting better, okay? This is Albert Ellis. Have you heard about Albert Ellis? He's very famous in rational emotive behavioral therapy. What is the main point? The best years of your life are the ones in which you decide your problems are your own. You do not blame them on your mother, your ecology, or the president. You realize that you control your own destiny. The same idea I'm talking about, right? To enlarge the topic of the moment. Albert Ellis' main emphasis is on rational living. Rational living. Because most people do not use the head, they use emotion, right? I feel happy. I feel miserable. So therefore I lash out, okay, on other people. But they're not rational. If you lash out, you hurt other people, other people fight you back, you'll be even more miserable. So most people do not behave rationally. They let emotion control their behavior. That's why husband and wife often they can't get along. They are living at the emotional level rather than rational level. At the rational level, you go through your brain, your cortex, right? You analyze the problem and find a solution. And more importantly, you have question many assumptions you have. Most of us have wrong assumptions about people, about ourselves. I should be perfect. That is, I must be perfect. Albert Ellis called it masturbation. Okay? I must do this. I must be like that. All the must should be changed to what? I prefer. If you can change must, the word must, no more masturbation. Must to I prefer to be more careful. I prefer to make less mistakes. Now that right away you feel yourself free from burden. So if you take control to live a rational life, your life will definitely become better. You can try this, okay? And then another example from Albert Ellis is to reframing. Reframing means that cognitive reframing means there's a good skill to use. Okay? If things are bad, okay, things are bad. Your people treat you badly, okay? You are happy. So cognitive reframing means that you can always find a positive meaning in a bad situation. I remember one day I go to Nanking. I was speaking in Nanking, okay? The next speaker also speaking. And he talked about during Cultural Revolution. So he was sent to a labor camp that's very dangerous, mining, okay? So every day, people die in a mine. got buried, not safe, okay? So he told himself, he said, very funny, okay? But don't get it in China, he cannot criticize communist government, right? He said, well, if there's a revolution, there must be sacrifice. And in Chinese say that 有革命也有牺牲. So people die, they're for the cause of revolution. So that's good cause. If I die, that's a good cause, okay? Second, they say, well, today I'm still alive. I should be happy, right? And my friend died, but they died for the revolution, for better China. It's worth it. I'm lucky, I'm not dying yet. I'm not dead yet. So he's able to find something positive in every situation, and he survived. So now he was a professor at the Beijing Normal School, the most famous teachers training college there in Beijing. It's called Chinese parapsychology. It's like RQ精神. Sorry, RQ means always find something positive. Okay? So he's an RQ spirit. He's able to find something positive in every negative situation, every result. He's able to feel better. It's very simple, right? Cognitive reframing, very powerful also. Okay? Self-belief is a key to success. Do you believe you get better? Do you believe? Now, some people have depression, okay? He comes to see psychologist. But I can't do anything. I'm useless, I can't do anything. You can do anything? Okay. Can you walk from here to there? It will. Can you pick up a chair? See? What do you mean you cannot do anything? You just pick a chair for me. You just walk to me. Sure, you can do things. Once you start thinking that I can do something, and then you feel that you're no longer helpless. The trick is that, according to Albert Ellis, is to challenge yourself. When you say, I can't do anything, then look at all the facts. Look at your resume. I'm another kind said that, oh, I can't do anything. I'm an accident, I can't do anything. I said, look, what you do in China? I was a professor. I wrote many books. So you're a smart person, right? Yeah. Is your brain still there? Yeah. So your brain still there, how come you say you can't use anything, do anything? I guess I still have my brain. Sure, you can't do, because you're angry, you can't get job, important job, but your brain is still there. So you use fact to challenge the idea and say, I can't do anything. There's no such thing as can't do anything. People have no hand able to learn how to draw with their feet. Never say I can't do anything. You say, I can, the self-efficacy, Bandura from Stanford. Bandura got famous for that idea. If you say I can, then you can. If you say I can't, then you can't. Logic, right? Oh, I'm limping. I can't. Then I'm finished. I'm dead. Okay? Self-efficacy. Okay? Now here we'll talk more about this week is that meaning can be found in self-transcendence. What is self-transcendence? It's helping others. Gandhi, he said, I feel sorry for myself because I have no feet, I have no shoes. I feel sorry for myself, I have no shoes, until I find someone who has no feet. Then say, but I better be grateful helping some people who have no feet. Now, Albert Ellis had one assignment. For people who feel sorry for themselves, oh, I have no money, no friend, and I'm miserable, I don't have a good job. You know what assignment is? Assignment is to assign them to help someone more unfortunate than they are. So someone said, you go and find someone who has no food to eat, who has no roof over their head. Go to help some homeless person. Go to find someone who is handicapped. Then tell me how you feel. After spend 1 week helping people who are really unfortunate, they come back, they're happier. That's how we're made, you know. We're a spiritual being. We find happiness by helping other people to be happier. But this is a paradox, right? The more you concern about you do have happiness, the more happy you'll be. But the more you forget yourself and helping other people to be happier, then you will be happier. So, see, that's a simple truth. That's how we're wired. We're wired to step out of ourselves to reach out to help others. The more people you help, the better you feel about yourself. Okay? Now letting go is another topic. Can I see my hand? You give me a gift. I cannot get her gift. You know why? You're trying to give me a good gift. Give me a good gift. Is it good?
It's awesome.
I can't receive it from her. What's the problem? The problem is not she gave me gifts, right? What's my problem? I have a tight fist. I can't let go, right? And sometimes a child holding a nickel in the hand, the father wants to give him ice cream, but he cannot get it because his hand is a nickel. But when I let go, and then I receive, right? You get the idea now? If you can't let go of the past, you cannot have receive a future. There's a Chinese saying that if you can't let go of the old, the new will not come, right? That's logic, right? If you hang on, so life is a balancing act between hanging on and letting go. Something you have to let go. Things that have no more use, something that cannot be changed, something that poison you. You better let it go, otherwise you can poison your whole life. The next lesson. If you turn your face toward the sun, your shadow will be what? Will be behind you, right? Your back to the sun, you will always see your shadow. So do you want to look at the shadow or look at the light? Right? The sun is always there, the shadow is always there. It's all depending on how you look at life. Last week I talked to my client, said she's very unhappy, okay? I said, oh, I'm so unhappy, physically, I'm sick, I'm this and that, okay? My husband in China. I said, can you think about anything positive in your life that you want to be grateful? See, gratitude is the key, right? Can you think of anything that you can say, oh, I'm so grateful that I have these things that are good things? I said, oh, I said, the sun's shining, that's good, okay? And then she said, oh, you're helping me, that's good, okay? And you can think about the third thing. She can't think about the third thing. No wonder she's so miserable. She can't even think about 3 things that he can give thanks for. 3 things. So I said, can you be grateful that you're still alive? Being alive is a good thing, right? Being alive is better than being dead. So yeah, I guess I can be happy that I'm still alive. See? If you are able to look at the sun rather than look at the shadow, you can always find something to give thanks for. If every day you find 3 things to give thanks, you'll be happier. You thank God for the food, thank God for life, and thank God for friends. And there's 3 things you can be thankful. Okay? And the wisdom letting go, okay? And self-care. This is Nietzsche, okay? This is that we see that life is suffering, right? You cannot avoid suffering. But if you're able to find meaning for suffering, then your suffering becomes more bearable. Right? Some Chinese parents come to Canada. China, they have a good job. They come to Canada for the children, for the future of the children. But when they think that, oh, we're suffering for our children, so their suffering has meaning. Right? You're suffering for the children, then your suffering become easier to bear. Every time you find positive meaning for your suffering becomes less. Okay? You were suffering for your wife, suffering for your children, suffering for your country, suffering for your friend. You're suffering for some purpose, and then you'll be happier. The final thing I talk about is the act of engagement. What is engagement? Are you engaged right now? You're mentally engaged, right? Can you think of a life with no engagement? Some people are so miserable. You know why? Their life has no content. No content. They just wake up, they eat, they go to the washroom, they sleep. The life is totally empty, no content. Of course they're miserable. We were not made. In old days, when people have to, in the case of hunters and gatherers, they have no time to feel depressed, right? They hunt to catch animals to feed the stomach, right? They have to hard labor to make a living. So if you have to struggle to make a living, you have no time to get depressed. You get depressed because you don't have to work. Or you can't find work, you have no engagement. So engagement means find something to engage yourself. Whether learning English, or learning a new subject matter, or volunteer, or making friends. You need friends, you need work, you need content in your life. When your life has no content, that's a recipe for depression. You're depressed because your life has no content. I'm not talking about meaning, okay? I'm about if your life has no content, then your life is empty. Right? It's empty inside. Emptiness, no content means no meaning. You don't have any sense of meaning of content. The value, the content in your life has positive value, your life has content, then you feel good about yourself. Okay? That's another prescription to make you feel better about yourself. Put some value and content into your life. Now here's a picture of mental health. Okay? Can you see that? And here is a picture from negative to positive. Where you are now, so you have to move up. Okay, I ran out of steam. Okay, thank you for attention.